Maybe at one time, bounce that. Y'all know what time it is. I got my homeboy with me right here. What's your name?
My name is Creighton Bear.
Where are you from? Turn the call.
I am from Virginia, but I moved to Miami 7 years ago. I was living in Melbourne before that. Don't do it. A lot of rocket scientists and hot nurses that have nothing to do except cheat on their husbands. And then I moved to, I was in Boca for a little bit. I'm German, that wasn't a good idea. And then I moved to Miami. And yo hablo español. Yo vivo en Miami 7 años. Necesito hablar español. Muy importante.
That's pretty good.
Chicas. Thank you.
That's pretty good, man. How long you been a comedian?
I've been doing comedy for 6 years solid. Everyone took a year off with COVID. Obviously, because Zoom comedy is not comedy. I don't care what anyone says. It's like you did a Zoom comedy show. So you didn't leave your house. You didn't go in front of an audience. You didn't actually get a reaction. You just got a reaction that was delayed from a computer screen. Comedy needs to be live. That's the most important thing. Secondary to that, I worked at the Improv for a little bit, for about 18 months.
Which Improv?
Miami Improv.
In Doral?
In Doral.
Okay.
I worked there for about 18 months. Got a lot of experience through that. I always recommend to everybody, if you're going to be in town, go check out a show at the Improv, either here or in Dania. Always a good lineup, very friendly staff. And I left because of the fact that I was dating a Cuban stripper. So financially speaking, I wasn't capable of maintaining that lifestyle and also being a bartender, because strippers are expensive, but Cuban strippers never have any money. So that was my bad. Learning lesson. But every guy in Miami has that fantasy of dating the Cuban stripper. I'm going to save you right now the headache. Just go home, bang your head against the wall 4 or 5 times, flush $1,000 down the drain, and call your mom in the morning. You'll feel a lot better about your life choices. That being said, it's not bad to date strippers, just not the one that I dated. For all the ladies out there that happen to be entertainers of the night, we love you. I support single moms or nursing students, if you want to call it that. At the same time, though, I have a weakness for Brazilian MILFs, and I'm in the right spot for that, I think, down here, because a lot of women, here's what I've noticed, when they go out in pairs, either one of them just had a divorce or one of them just had a body part done. Men, we don't have that, okay? We want to look different. We grow a beard or we go to the gym. That's about all we can do, because if we go and get our dicks done, we show it to anybody, we get arrested. So, you know, you got what you got as a man. That's basically it. That's what I love about being a dude. But doing comedy down here for 5 years solid, took a year off. Before the Improv, though, I worked at the old Funky Buddha Lounge in Boca. I worked the door there. I always tell people, if you want to get into anything, especially entertainment-wise, look into working security first. If you want to be a DJ, work as security for most of the DJ venues. If you want to be a comedian, work as security for most of the comedy venues. You'll get your foot in the door that way, and then you'll be able to branch off of that. I've always been able to branch off of having a job that is comedy or entertainment adjacent, and then able to pursue what I'm into. I recommend that to everybody.
What's the best and worst thing about being a comedian?
The best thing about it is the people and the community that you run into. The worst thing is the community and some of the people that you run into. Because I believe in I'm old school. I believe in like the Adam Sandler type effect, where if somebody gets on, hey, my buddy's pretty good at this, let's see what he thinks. Hey, and kind of bringing everyone into a collaborative effort. Comedy in the last couple of years, especially with podcasts and everyone kind of being able to form their own lane.
There's a lot of Cat Williams stuff going on.
There's a lot of Cat Williams stuff.
How do you feel about? Let's kind of talk about Cat Williams right now and what he did.
I think that was necessary.
Okay.
I think that it was a necessary interview just to reset the deck of cards as they are right now, because a lot of people are going to be out of work starting next year in Hollywood. And that's a good opportunity as I look at it, because a lot of people are just like, wow, it's fucked up. I can't wait till the Titanic sinks on J-Lo myself, just because I've been looking forward to that one. Because we've been making excuses for 20 years that she can sing, and I'm just like, she sang on the first album, okay. Second album, I think it was a lot of auto-tune, and then it just got progressively worse from there. Yeah. Not to hate on J-Lo, she's very talented at divorce lawyers. But that being said, I think Cat Williams specifically, the fact that he didn't underline who or how, but the fact that he kind of gave us a rough outline of what was going to happen, and most of it's come to fruition, is a good indicator that comedians are plugged in and they know what's going on. And I agree with it, man. I mean,
You agree with everything he said?
I agree with the majority of it. I can't, okay. I can't really like speak for a lot of the parties that I wasn't at, or a lot of the people that I didn't meet.
Do you feel like he was over the top in any kind of way? He did a little bit too much.
He did a little bit too much in parts.
Okay.
Parts. I would say that he definitely reached over the
calling certain women, the wives. He said the weird face wives.
Weird face.
Yeah, that line. That was kind of. that was.
Okay, the problem with the weird face wives thing is my dad's former army. I'm former army, so the weird face wives thing. That's in any industry that you run into, where like you'll have somebody who's like a top tier guy, and they just marry somebody. And you're like, why are you married to that woman? He's just like, that's what society wants me to do. You're just like, you're gonna go on vacation to Colombia for 3 weeks, then come back. Tell me if you still want to be married. That's the other thing I recommend to most comedians. If you're sad, depressed, and lonely, and you think that going out and getting the gratification of comedy and being funny is good for you, do that. But also have an active social life and try to get laid. A lot of these guys would stop doing comedy if they just stopped being incels and actually figured out how to talk to women instead of complaining on stage about how they wanted to talk to a woman but couldn't talk to a woman, and now we're talking to a bunch of strangers about it. I've always been very confident with the fact that I'll name names. Shout out to Matt Ross from the Triple F podcast and the Friendly Fire podcast. He used to be a Boca comic. We used to roll some mics together, me, him, this guy Danny Fallon, and my buddy Ryan. And one night we went to Riverside Market and Plantation. It's one up in
I heard about it.
Tony Dark runs it. Shout out to Tony Dark and Lucas Dodier. They have a good mic up there. It's always on Mondays, it's worth checking out. But we went there, we were hanging out, and I was wearing my buddy's racing team jacket. I just had this tattoo done up, I had fresh ink. Did my set, get off stage, and I started flirting with a state trooper. Didn't know she was a state trooper at the time. Found that out later and then lost her number. But I digress. Matt was asking me, he's like, how are you doing this right now? I was like, Matt, you were just on stage for 10 minutes making people laugh in a room full of people. If you don't use that to talk to women, you're wasting everyone's time because the pay is shit in comedy. But the opportunities are endless.
Okay.
Unless you have it in your contract to be paid, $250 for an appearance fee. I don't have that yet. That being said, you run that all back down to, it's a social interaction. And it's also a likability contest. I've never consigned myself to the belief that you have to be liked by everybody, but you do have to be liked by the right people. And another thing is, I agree with Chappelle on this one, where the best piece of advice he ever got about comedy was when someone told him that he was one of those comedians that thought that he had to be funny all the time. And you don't. But you do have to be interesting all the time. You do have to have an interesting outlook, perspective, job, whatever the heck it is you're going through, dating, parents, holidays, whatever it is.
It has to be interesting.
It has to be an interesting perspective on it, not what everyone else is doing. Dog, I can't tell you how tired I got of that Hawk Tua joke by day 2. It came in where I was like month 2 of Hawk Tua jokes. Where you're just like, I've heard
and
this.
Her podcast is booming. She's getting millions of views. I don't know if you know about
Hawk
Tua.
You can capitalize on it. You can do it one of two ways. You can either use the momentum coming at you to allow you to push you back, or propel off of it and move you forward. And she got 15 minutes, and she's using it the right way. Which
she's doing it right.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people nowadays that once they get that green light, because it's funny, because the chick who came up with the very classy, very demure, she didn't copyright that.
I don't know what that is.
The very classy, it was the thing on TikTok for like 4 weeks where like every girl was saying very classy, very demure. Oh. Like they figured out what the word demure meant. Yeah. Just like they figured out the word toxic a couple years ago, the word gaslighting. It's like, get off the TikTok page of therapy and go talk to an actual therapist.
Yeah.
That being said, she didn't copyright it. Yeah. And now she's in a legal battle with whoever copyrighted her phrase. And it's just like, when you get that 15 seconds, the thing about it is you don't know when it's going to happen. But when it happens, make sure that you have all of your house in order, so that way you can take care of what you need to take care of and get done what you need to get done. Most comedians' goal is to get on stage at the Improv, do a couple shows, maybe start a podcast with their buddies, go on tour, not like a world tour, but go around the country. And at some point in time, drop a special. I tell everybody, wait until you're in like year 7 in this before you even start thinking about doing a special. Because you ain't gonna have enough material by year 2, year 3. You will have half an hour to an hour by year 2, year 3 that still needs to be worked on for another year. And then by the time you're done with that, 3 best pieces of advice I got about comedy are as follows. Number 1, you can't get fired. You're here, you're performing, you've cleared all the necessary channels. As long as you don't get up there and say anything really offensive to a lot of groups that have Facebooks, then you'll be fine. But you can't get fired. Just don't do it just to do it and be controversial. If you're going to make fun of something, a lot of people are going to make fun of Tony Hinchcliffe tonight. I'm going to make fun of Tony Hinchcliffe tonight. Why? I live in Miami. There's Puerto Ricans. I know them. It's a dumb fucking thing to say. That being said, he's a comedian. I'm allowed to make fun of him. And I think as far as where we've gotten with the subversion of comedy is people have forgotten that your job as a comedian, this is my second piece of advice, is it's your job as the comedian to find where the line is and cross it. George Carlin said that. Because the reason why you cross that line is you start to have a conversation about why the line is there. And that leads to progress 9 times out of 10. That was me adding on to the quote. And last but not least, number 3, Hennessy Williams, who told me way back when I started this, at the end of every week, you've come across 5 funny moments, funny interactions, funny thoughts, funny ideas, whatever the hell it is. Carry a notebook with you. Write it down. I have a notebook with me at all points in time. If I see something funny on Instagram and I think about it and I go, okay, and I see how can I build on this? How can I work on this? If I'm in traffic, if I'm on the bus, if I'm at the grocery store, if I'm at the gym, I see something funny, I'll take a break, write it down, come back to it, work on it later on. And if you do that over the span of a year, by the end of the year, you should have an hour of material that is funny. Maybe you're not your best stuff, but definitely funny, so that way you can work as a comedian.
Let's wrap it up on this, man. Funniest comedian all time, in your opinion.
It's a tie for me between Robin Williams and I'm gonna go Pryor. I'm gonna go Robin Williams and Pryor for me. But
Richard Pryor,
Richard
right?
Pryor, yeah.
Okay.
Richard Pryor. Carlin was definitely like top 5, but he was more
Carlin?
George Carlin. He was definitely
I don't know about him.
George Carlin is a deep dive.
Is he throwback? Like what years was he on top?
60 to the like early 90s. Like very, very relevant.
Yeah.
He was a philosopher that was dressed as a comedian.
Okay, that goes back to what Chappelle was saying. You don't have to be funny, interesting.
No, very much so.
It's a strategic art.
It's a very strategic art. It's also you have to have good tact and good self-awareness. It's the main thing with comedy. And timing.
Yeah,
You gotta work at it. Like, I tell people that all the time. The one thing you can't get naturally is timing. You have to work at it.
Yeah.
If you don't have a joke that works on night 1, by night 1,000 it should work because you've worked out how to pace it out and get all of it to land. If you work at it.
I appreciate your time, man. Anything you want to shout out before I let you go?
My Instagram is Creighton_bear. I post memes and dog pictures a lot, and also pictures of food. My YouTube is Creighton S Bear, CREIGHTONSBAYER. And last but not least, my Instagram is Creighton Bear. Give me a follow.
Yep, we definitely appreciate your time. Maybe Manasai Boss that got to finish on the last question. Big booty or pretty face when it comes to the women? Which one you picking?
Big booty.
Want to explain why? You want to explain why you're going to pick the big booty over the pretty face? There's a lot of women watching right now.
The big booty is because the fact that she's got childbearing hips. That's more important than a pretty face.
Y'all keep that playing.